thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, no problem.
Because I appreciate everything that you do for the Edge team. You're not my upline, you're my crossline, but you share your goodness with us, so thank you.
Yeah, you bet. It's a lot of fun.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you today because sometimes we mention this list called the chicken list.
Yeah.
People that we would just love to have on our front line. And I keep talking to my team about just, what do you have to lose? And what the process would be for helping somebody like that to want to work with you. Yeah. So I have somebody in mind particularly that I would like to talk to about the business, but I thought so much of the perception about network marketing and even just doTERRA is that it's just moms doing this business, just like on the side.
Yeah.
So you obviously are an example of something entirely different. You are providing for your family through doTERRA, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what were you doing before you were doing doTERRA? In a summary, what were you doing?
Yeah, I owned a software company, and so at that point I owned a software company, and before that, I've always owned my own business. For years, and so I had been running a pretty large business for a long time, and then so I was an entrepreneur, a business owner, all in conventional business, was not a network marketer at all.
Okay, so how on earth did somebody talk you into even giving it a go? And when you said yes to doTERRA, what kind of a yes was it? Was it, well, I'll try it, or let's see, and at what point did you decide you were all in?
Yeah. So first of all, Rod Richardson, he actually sent me an email, and in the email he just said, "Hey, we should do this." And it had a video. There was a video of an essential oil class at the end of it was just a small opportunity where they just explained that there was a network marketing opportunity with it. And that was so shocking to me. I was blown away that Rod actually approached me about a network marketing business. That was half of the shock, was that's what, I remember just going, is he I remember thinking, is he really sending this to me? Because before that, he'd actually talked pretty negatively about it. And we talked about, network marketing as being kind of amateur business, because we were both, businessmen and ran conventional businesses. So he sent that to me. And then a day or two later, he called me up and said, "I have a gift for you." And he came and brought me a Modern Essentials book and some essential oils. And as the story goes, ran back to his car, So anyway, yeah. So that's how I got introduced to it.
Yeah, but at some point you had to do some research and say, okay, I'm going to try this business, right? Or did you try the oils first, or how did it start for you?
Well, I read the book. I read the whole thing, and I was really intrigued by it because the first section of it said the science and application of essential oils, and my thought was, really, there's science behind this, and it wasn't just wives' tales or whatever, right? And so I read it, and I looked at all the science behind it, and I just kind of thought, well, there's certainly something to this, right? It's not just made up. And then, and so that was interesting to me. And luckily, it's luckily now, I look back at it with thinking it was luckily, but we were going through some extraordinarily hard times in business. The economy had just collapsed. The banking institution had dried up. Basically, they weren't lending to anybody. And there was we owned commercial real estate. All of a sudden, all these businesses left, and that left us with this big office buildings with no tenants. Everything was falling apart. And so I had been going without pay. All of my partners in the company that I owned were going without paychecks to try to keep the business afloat. And so because of that, I was thinking, okay, maybe there's something I can do on the side that will help provide for my family, because we ended up going a year and a half without taking paychecks. And so anyway, so there was a money need. Number one, there was a money need.
Okay.
Number two, there seemed to be a product that had some viability to it. And then at that point, when Rod, he approached me about the business, I actually went in and took an Excel spreadsheet and built their comp plan on it, and just ran numbers to see how their comp plan performed. And it performed well. And so I thought, okay, so he and I for a full day basically dissected the comp plan to see how it performed.
Okay.
So all of that seemed to make sense. And then I started going to essential oil classes, and I was just blown away. I was just, I would sit in these classes and just go, wow, is this for real? I just started thinking, my gosh, if this is real, everyone needs to know about this, and so I started getting pretty excited about the possibilities that it provided in that regard. And I started using it with my family. One of the reasons why I was intrigued by it was because my kids were constantly getting sick, and my wife likes to remind me that before doTERRA came into our life, she actually tried to buy some essential oils. She did. And I criticized the purchase. I'm like, good grief, it's so expensive for that little bottle. What is it supposed to do? I was, very critical of that. And I was very Western minded when it came to medication and things like that. And I kind of thought that, and I still think that a lot of those that are the natural community are a little kooky. And so I kind of, tied everything into that. I kind of thought, well, so that caused me to be a skeptic, to say the least.
Okay.
But when I read the book and I went to those classes, I thought I have to at least give this a try. And my kids, like I said, I owned a software company. Well, it's a personal financial management software. So it would track your spending. And every month I would see these bills come up, and I was trying to categorize those expenditures. And I was asking my wife, what is that? It keeps showing up every month. And she goes, well, those are doctor visits. Yeah. I'm like, for what? And, she goes, well, your kids. And I was just working so much, I had no idea. And so the way that I approached it was I said, well, why don't I do this? I'm going to buy some oils. I bought a kit. And every time something happens, I'm going to first try to use the oils. And if that works, great. And if it doesn't, I have a whole medicine cabinet I can go to. And so that's what I did. And anytime anything came up, I first tried the essential oils, and all the doctor visits and all the little medications and all those things stopped. And so I just started having super positive experiences, and bad experiences. I mean,
oregano in your eye.
Or giving someone some essential oils and having it turn out badly, because I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, yeah, try this. I mean, I remember this one lady had a really bad burn, and I'm like, here, put some oil in it. I just put oil, I'd not diluted or anything. And, it wasn't a good experience for her. And so it was a little bit here and there. And then,
okay.
So yeah, so then, and then also at that point, Rod and Kelly Anderson, one day they said, hey, let's come with us. We want to introduce you to the Goddards. And so they took me over to the Goddards. I met Natalie and Andy. They had just reached Diamond, and I think they said that their paycheck was $12,000 that month. And I remember just kind of looking at them, just going, well, if they can do it, I can do it,
That's so funny. That's a big motivator for me too. I look at people and I go, well, you're not that special. Like, why?
Yeah, I mean, the more I've gotten to know the Goddards, the more I realize they're astounding. But they were just so down to earth and just so regular. There was nothing astounding about them to me. They were just a good couple, and I thought, well, my wife and I are a good couple. So anyway, so that's why I decided to do it. I thought, well, I can give this a go. And I'm not the one thing I will say is that when you asked, when I decided, did I decide, did I jump all in?
Yeah.
Well, knowing what all in is now, I didn't.
Thought you were all in.
I thought I was all in.
Okay.
But mentally, I jumped in as far as I understood it.
Okay.
And the reason why was because my reputation is important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And typically people that are in network marketing can have bad reputations.
They're slippery and they're slimy and we hate them.
Right. And part of the reason why they have a bad reputation is because they jump into one, they try to get everybody into it, and then they quit. Yeah. And then they join another one and do the same thing. And they have this pattern of doing that. I didn't want to do that. And so when I decided that I was in it, period. Because I wasn't going to be the story of the guy, oh yeah, do you remember when you tried out that one network marketing thing? You remember that? I didn't want to be that.
And you had tried network marketing a long time ago, right?
A long time ago. I did when I was in my early 20s, I did Amway.
Okay.
And that was a bad experience.
Well, of course it was.
Yeah. and so there was a lot of I was concerned about that. I mean, I didn't want it to be what I'd seen there either, which it isn't. It's not even kind of like that, but it's
that was your experience, so you had some hesitation about that.
Yeah, but one thing I did know is that when I was going to commit to it, I was not going to be the person that just did it and then didn't stick it out,
I think that probably helped you with finding your leaders too, because you had a commitment to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and some of them didn't, some of my closest associates didn't want anything to do with doTERRA, and that hurt. I wish that they would have, I mean, some of them are my best friends, but as they say, you work with the willing. And so.
And you can't fault them either, because of your own experiences. You had probably said that, and Rod had said that. I'm not doing network marketing. So.
Yeah. I didn't hold it against them. I was frustrated because I wish that they would do it. They were my friends. Yeah, but on the other hand, I got it. Yeah.
And now they're going, dang.
Yeah.
Or they're thinking it, but they're not saying it because their pride stops them from saying dang.
Well, as the saying goes, if you stick around, eventually everybody comes around. And all of those people who said no initially, most of them are doing it anyway. And they do, and they wish that they would have started when I told them, I just 2 days ago, I had a guy, I was snowmobiling with a guy, and he just goes, man, why didn't you talk some sense into me? Yeah. And I said, I tried, Yeah. And so, but that's the fruit that you and I get to enjoy because, if you stick around it long enough and you prove that you were serious about it, then all of those people end up coming around. They do. They either come around and want to be a part of what you're doing, or at a minimum, they really admire what you did.
Yeah. And that feels good too.
Right? Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Okay. So I mentioned earlier that most of the wellness advocates doing doTERRA as a business are women.
Yeah.
So you're not a woman, you're a man, you're a father, and you provide for your family, and Rod is the same. And my upline is the same. He does it with his wife. But do you think it makes it easier or harder
to be a man?
To be a man doing doTERRA?
I think it's easier.
Why?
Well, because I'm able to recruit other men easier than women can. Yep. Like when women do doTERRA, they have a difficult time getting men to do doTERRA because men will look at them and think, but that's a women's business. Yep. Right? But but I can work with women with and I think, so there's two things so you do need to have an ability to work with women if you're going to do doTERRA, so luckily I have 6 sisters. And so I'm familiar with women and that, you know what I mean? Like I don't,
you can with the women.
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal for me. Plus I work with most of my sisters in doTERRA. And some of them are some of my largest leaders. And so that was a phenomenal experience to be able to work with them and help them succeed. Now, the advantage that I have is that I'm also able to help get husbands to be supportive. So even if I was working with you and your husband was thinking, I don't know, I mean, I could come and sit down with him and talk to him like a man and men, like women are nurturers, which is why typically there are more women in doTERRA, because it's a nurturing business. The oils are nurturing by nature. You help someone, you nurture them, right? And men typically wear provider roles, and we're comfortable there. And so when I'm talking to the spouse of a woman on my team, I can talk to him from that provider role mindset easier. Right. And I, so anyway, so I actually asked my leaders on my team that are women, I said, what are the advantages of having me as a man be your sponsor in doTERRA? And what are the disadvantages? And it was overwhelmingly much more positive, the advantages as opposed to the disadvantages. And the disadvantages are these: you can't get as close to your team as women do. Like women will go and they'll have a spa day together. Well, I don't do that. Or they'll go to a retreat and they'll have, they'll all be together and they do women things, and I don't do any of that, right? And women also, like, I don't personally feel comfortable doing the aroma touch massage on anybody except for my wife and my kids. Now, women, they typically don't mind that. Like, they'll go, yeah, I'll give you an aroma touch massage, right? And so
the same way as you do. I'll do it for my family and my closest friends, but I don't know if I can stretch beyond that.
Right. And I know men, and by the way, I know men that don't have a problem with it either, but I do. Yeah. And so I'm like, no, I mean, so there are certain things like that where I just don't go. Or, for example, going on a road trip, right? I love it when there's a guy that I can go do a road trip with. But I did that with my sisters. But when it comes to women that aren't related to me and that aren't my wife, I'm not going to go and do a road trip with them and visit other areas. So there are things like that you have to, you set boundaries in that regard. Yeah. Like I don't ride in the same car as women alone, right? That's just a rule that I have. Okay. And so those types of things will create issues. Right. But it's not a big deal. Frankly, isn't a big deal. And the other thing is that when you explain your boundaries, most women in the business really admire that. They love that. Yeah. And so that it just kind of creates weird dynamics sometimes when you're trying to do the work, but it doesn't hurt your relationship with anybody in the business anyway. So it's good.
No, I think that's cool. I think it raises your value to them because they feel safe because it's yours too. I think. Yeah. Okay, so a lot of people, there's different reasons to start doing doTERRA, right? Some people are super passionate about natural health, and they love the oil so much they couldn't help do the business. Other people are super passionate about entrepreneurship, and like the sign behind you, that Edge Success, lift and liberate the world. Like, my question is, what excited you the most? And I think you maybe already answered this halfway. In the very beginning, what excited you the most? And now that you're a Blue Diamond, close to presidential, what excites you now? Has it changed?
Yeah, it changes a little bit. It does change. But so in the beginning, I was excited to be able to provide for my family with something that seemed really viable to me. And now I'm excited about changing lives. I mean, when you're financially free and the reason you get up in the morning is not to make money, then you start focusing on your greater cause and higher purpose in life. And I think that most people's greater cause and higher purpose in life centers on serving others in some way. Yeah. And so I love, like, okay, I'm financially free, so I want to help the people on my team become financially free. I want to serve them that way. Now, because this video is recorded, I don't really want to get into my passion about the oils because I'm afraid I'll say something that the FDA would be mad about on a recorded video. But let me just say this. There was a moment in my experience with doTERRA where this got very real for me, the cause side of doTERRA. So there are two sides of doTERRA. There's the dream, there's the financial dream side, like your financial dreams can come true. And then there's the cause side, which is your, like helping, putting a healer in every home, like that type of thing, right? And I had a conversion to both. And initially, again, I was in a provider role. I saw the awesome opportunity. And then eventually in the cause side of this, I saw some amazing things happening for people in their lives that I became very committed to the cause as well, in helping empower parents to know how to take care of their families using essential oils. So there's both of those are important, but let me just address the man side of this because I think that's what you're asking for. doTERRA in a lot of ways is the most manly, impressive company on the planet.
Really?
When you consider that the fastest company to $1 billion in annual revenue was Apple Computer until doTERRA beat Apple by a year.
Wow.
I mean, so in the history of business, the fastest company to $1 billion in annual sales was Apple Computer, which impacts every single life, right? I mean, Apple products impact almost every life. And then you have a company like doTERRA come along with essential oil that actually beats them by a year. That's astounding. Astounding. Yeah, manly. So there's that. Number two, we're in a $1 trillion industry, meaning that I don't look at it as we're in the essential oil industry. I look at us as we're in the healthcare industry. And when 1 out of every $6 in the U.S. economy, it goes towards healthcare, that's astounding. I mean, the amount of money that's already going towards health and wellness is so enormous that all you have to do is go in and show some people some alternatives, options. And the third thing is that there is a backlash in the world against synthetic drugs. And so people, like, if you ask everybody in the world, you are dealing with certain issues. If you could take care of that naturally, would you prefer that, or would you prefer to do it synthetically with chemicals? Every person I've talked to across the globe says, well, if there's a natural way to do it, I'd rather do that. And so I look at it from just look at the market potential. It can reach, like I made the comparison to Apple. Apple can't reach everywhere, but doTERRA can. It can apply to everyone, because if you have a body, it applies to you. And the second thing is that because the products are consumable, I haven't bought a new phone in the last 2 years because I haven't needed one. It works fine. I don't eat it, but I use my oils and I use the supplements and I use the other products, and I have to reorder them. And guess what? 74% of everybody who's ever signed up in doTERRA reorders for that very reason. And so those things, frankly, are very manly. I mean, when I look at a business, I go, that all looks positive to me. High cash flows, high demand, high amounts. We're not in a $1 trillion industry with a company that is debt free, with an ownership team that is, the management team at doTERRA is second to none. In this industry, it puts people to shame. With the compensation plan that's phenomenal, with a product and a cause that people can get behind and get passionate about, that appeals to women who make that. And women make up the majority of home-based business owners. I don't know.
There's 2 things you didn't mention. Okay, can I bring up 2?
Yeah.
One is the co-impact sourcing. If you want to get excited, I mean, that's like the 3rd tier excitement for me. The first was, man, these oils, they work. The second was, whoa, this business. And then the third was, oh my goodness.
And I'm doing, and yeah, right. And buying a bottle of oil doesn't just bless your life. It blesses third world economies and helps all sorts of things.
A bottle of oil never gets to this certain part of Haiti, we're blessing the lives there because they're growing that vetiver forest or whatever, right?
Right. Yeah.
And then the other thing that I wanted to end with asking you about is leadership and the ability to be a leader and a force for good, not just with the oils, but with personal development and helping people to be lifted and liberated out of any kind of bondage that they happen to be in. And I think you're so good at speaking to that and sharing that kind of a voice with, all of the doTERRA community. And I see a lot of men around me and colleagues of my husband's who he works with, and they have this gift for lifting people and for being leaders. And I see them doing things like IT consulting or managing an online something or other that doesn't deal with people at all, and I place them in my mind into a leadership and doTERRA role, and I can see what that could be for them. And
yeah.
but I'm thinking, how do I get them excited about what that might feel like?
Yeah. So first of all, doTERRA is probably one of it's the greatest leadership development thing I've ever been a part of, and it's because it demands that from you. Like, if you want to succeed in this, you have to become the best version of you. And I think that I thought I was a good leader before I got into this. But here's the reason why doTERRA's leadership is so phenomenal. Like, why you have to be a good leader. If someone joins your team, you hold no leverage over them. So in other leadership responsibilities I've had in the past, if someone worked for me, yeah, I thought I was a good leader, but the problem was they were following me because I was paying them.
Right.
And I've held other leadership responsibilities in church, for example, in my church. Well, there's leverage there also.
Right.
Like, whether that's God wants you to do this, right? or the good book says this, right? I mean, there's still leverage there. And then there's this, and someone joins your team, and the only leverage that you have in their life are their goals, their dreams, their aspirations, and your ability to help them see and believe that you can help them get what they want and to become what they want. And that requires leadership, lots of it. And so if you can do it, and if you can serve in that capacity, then your team grows. And then when it grows, your influence expands. And then at some point, your team becomes large enough, the other teams start paying attention to you as well. And then your influence isn't just on your team, it's company-wide. And so a lot of times people want to get into leadership to make a difference. Well, this is phenomenal. This is one of the best ways you can make a difference, because it requires you to be the best version of you. And you don't have any leverage over anybody else other than what you provide to them in your ability to inspire and lead them down a path. And all of that's phenomenal. I mean, and so I think the leadership aspects of this are fantastic.
Yeah, I do too. It's something that definitely stretches us.
Yeah.
And in a good way, right? I said that was the last thing I wanted to ask you about, but you reminded me of one more thing, and that is the financial impact. So, when we do doTERRA and we do it well, we start to find this amazing residual income.
Yeah.
And we start in the beginning, we think, well, now we can do this, guys. Hey, kids, now we can go here, and now we can do that. It gets to a certain point, though, when you're very successful and committed, that you can't even think of what you might do with all this money. I'm hoping, right? That's what you guys say. And I look forward to that. Tell me about that. A little bit. Tell me how the financial liberation has inspired you, not only for your own family and you're finding your higher purpose. And, doing doTERRA might not be your higher purpose. There's got to be something else there that you can even ask yourself, well, now what do I do? But the other thing that's exciting to me is helping my leaders to find that too, to find what is your passion. Let me help you with doTERRA so you can go and do that thing.
Yeah.
Do it really, really well because of the financial liberty that you'll experience through this avenue.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I'm at the time of this recording, I'm a gold, and you're a blue diamond still, right?
Yeah.
How much longer? Come on, Seth. We're waiting
A
for
couple months.
Okay.
In a couple months.
Just a little bit. Anyway, what's it like from where you sit?
Well, this is a phenomenal position, frankly. It's like a dream. Life has a really special kind of meaning when making money is not why you exist. And frankly, you don't even think about it that much. Like I don't, it's a different life when you don't think about money. And it's because there's an abundance of it. So like, it's kind of like oxygen. I don't think in our conversation here over the last 20 minutes that you've ever wondered, man, I hope I don't run out of oxygen in here today. That doesn't cross anybody's mind because there's an abundance of oxygen. But if you ever have asthma, or if you ever can't breathe, real only thing on your mind is oxygen. That's the only thing that matters. And so when someone is working for a living and most of their life is committed to making a living, then, and when there is not enough, then you tend to dwell on money a lot, all the time. And so, I mean, even in this political season in our country, everybody's obsessed with money, and it's because there's not enough, right? There just isn't enough, right, for people in their budgets and things like that. So when you get to the point to where money becomes like oxygen to you, and you have plenty, and there's plenty coming next month too, and you could go to Nepal and do some service work and come back and receive a paycheck, right? Regardless of what you're doing. When you build a financial pipeline, it opens up all sorts of things to you. And so like yesterday morning, I sat down with Rod, and he and I spent a better part of a couple hours talking about what we want to do to make the world better. And those are just conversations and that don't take place when your mind is consumed with making an income. And so, like we talked about, helping to contribute to fantastic charities that help stop the child sex slavery. We talked about figuring out how to take entrepreneurial training and put that into the inner city communities in their schools to start putting ladders into these communities to provide opportunities for people to get themselves out of the ghetto. And, and so look, the fact of the matter is that when you're just making enough for you and yours, then you're focused on you and yours. But when that's taken care of, then you start thinking of others. And the principle is that when you think small financially, that's very selfish because all you're thinking about is you. But when you think big, when you think $30, $40, $50, $60,000 every month, then or more, then what happens is that you start thinking, okay, me and mine, that's already taken care of. What can I do to make this world a better place in which to live? And the more I do doTERRA and I work with people and I help them think like that, I say, hey, what would happen if you received a $5,000 check every single month, every month in and month out, regardless of if you worked? What would you do? And most people, they think, okay, I'm going to maybe make these improvements on my home. I'm going to, pay off some debts. I'm going to do this. And then I start going up. Okay, what if it was $10,000 a month? And they go, well, maybe I travel more and I do this. It's still very focused around self and family. And then I go, well, what if it's $25,000 a month? Or what if it's 50? Or what if it's 100? And then when you start getting into those higher realms, people start looking, well, What would I do? And they start describing these phenomenal things that they would spend their life doing, that they would waste away their life in the service of fellow men, is what normally happens. And then, and it's because they're taken care of. And so when you start liberating people financially on that level, they then turn their thoughts, actions, and ideas towards serving mankind. And that's their greater cause and higher purpose. That's their divine mission and purpose. And I just have come to know in my time doing this that every person I talk to has a divine mission and purpose. And it has nothing to do with working for money until you're dead. That's not why you were born. That's not why you're here on earth. And so if you can figure out a way to to get rid of that need to constantly just work for money until you die, then you can start to focus on the real reason you're here. And so if you do it in order, create a financial pipeline so that you can go and pursue that type of cause and purpose, then all things, life has a very special kind of meaning, and it's exciting to get up in the morning, and it's exciting to go about your day because you're doing what you love.
Oh, it's awesome. And it's fun too.
Yeah, it's a blast.
And the work between here and there, it's all fun too, and it all feels good. It's hard.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. I mean,
why not?
yeah. Even after reaching the high ranks, I still love to do what got me to these ranks.
Yeah.
Because it's a good work. I'm helping people with their health and well-being, and I'm helping people with their finances, and that's a fantastic. I mean, I'll never forget when it dawned on me one day. 90% of the prayers that go up to heaven include to help us with our health and our finances. And when I realized, when I walked into people's homes, that it just dawned on me one day, I'm like, wow, I'm an answer to these people's prayer. And that's a humbling thing. And then but when you embrace that and you go, you know what? I probably am if they're willing to accept that answer. And so I can't think of anything that I've done. And that's a pretty strong statement, but I can't think of anything that's been this rewarding.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This
Yep.
has been cool. To hear that from you, and I look forward to sharing it with my team, and I'll send you the link to it. You can share it with them, with yours too, if that works for you. So
Great, thanks, Angie. I appreciate it.
awesome. Well, I will not see you at leadership because apparently you're going to Australia.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you sometime soon on the mastermind calls.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thanks.
have a good day.
You bet. See ya.